This is me, Miriam, and also known as Miriam Data Science Wali. Student at Rehan School in online academy level 1. So today we are having a new interview with Maya, with Maya, and our topic name is about students and study. Study tips. What are the best ways to remember what I study? That's our question. So without wasting time, we can start.
Hi, Miriam. Hope you're having a good evening.
Yeah, Maya, I am good. So Maya, today our topic is study tips. What are the best ways to remember what I study? And my first question is: many students struggle to remember information after studying. What are the most effective strategies for improving memory and recall while preparing for exam? In your answer, discuss at least three methods such as active recall, spaced repetition, or connecting new ideas what you already know. Explain how these methods work, when they are useful, and give example of how a student might apply them in real study situation.
Gotcha. Okay, so you want to dive into study tips. Smart move. Exams are looming, right? A lot of students just read and reread, and that's kind of like writing on water. It doesn't stick. Let's talk about methods that actually build memory. Three big ones come to mind: active recall, spaced repetition, and elaborative interrogation. Active recall is basically forcing your brain to pull info out instead of passively letting it in. Think flashcards, practice questions, or just try to summarize a chapter from memory. It works because the effort of retrieving the info strengthens the neural pathways. Useful when you've already done some initial learning and need to solidify it. For example, after reading a history section, don't just reread your notes. Close the book and try to write down everything you remember. Then check and fill in the gaps. Spaced repetition is about revisiting information at increasing intervals. It combats the forgetting curve, which is that rapid drop-off in retention after learning something new. Apps like Anki are great for this, but you can do it manually too. Say you study biology terms. Review them the next day, then 3 days later, then a week, then 2 weeks. It's most helpful for long-term retention of facts and concepts. Lastly, elaborative interrogation. This is about asking yourself why questions. Why is this concept important? How does it relate to other things I know? It forces you to deeply process the information and connect it to existing knowledge. Helpful for understanding complex topics. If you're studying photosynthesis, don't just memorize the steps. Ask yourself, why does a plant need sunlight? What would happen if there was no chlorophyll? Does that make sense so far? Hello? Still there? Sometimes the
Okay, so my next question is, what are the main benefits and disadvantages about studying, and what are the main ways to better in study?
Gotcha. Okay, let's break down the good and bad of studying and how to tip the scales in your favor. The benefits are pretty obvious: knowledge, better grades, future opportunities. But beyond that, studying builds discipline, critical thinking, and problem solving skills. It's like a workout for your brain. The downsides can be stressful, time consuming, and honestly kind of boring sometimes. Burnout is real. Now, how to get better at it, it's not just about putting in hours. A big thing is understanding your learning style: visual, auditory, kinesthetic. Tailor your methods accordingly. Visual learners might use diagrams and mind maps. Auditory folks could benefit from recording lectures and listening back. And kinesthetic learners need to get hands-on, maybe with experiments or role-playing. Another key is creating a good study environment. Minimize distractions. Phone on silent, quiet space. Good lighting, comfortable but not too comfortable. And schedule regular breaks. Your brain needs downtime to consolidate information. The Pomodoro technique is solid. 25 minutes of focused work, then a 5-minute break. Rinse and repeat. Also, don't underestimate the power of collaboration. Study groups can be really helpful for bouncing ideas off each other and explaining concepts to someone else, which actually solidifies your own understanding. But make sure it's a productive group, not just a social hour. And lastly, sleep. Seriously, your brain does a lot of processing while you sleep. Pulling all-nighters is usually counterproductive. Does any of that ring true for you?
So my next question about that. Some
Okay.
learners, some learners find it difficult to stay focused while studying. What strategies can help students maintain concentration and recall more effectively in their answers? Discuss at least three techniques, explain why they are helpful, and provide long examples.
Right. Focus is a huge one. It's like everyone struggles with it. Okay. A few things. First, break down study sessions into smaller, manageable chunks. Instead of trying to tackle a whole chapter at once, set a goal to cover a specific section. Then reward yourself with a short break. That's the Pomodoro thing we touched on earlier. Second, minimize distractions, seriously. Phone on Do Not Disturb. Close unnecessary tabs on your computer. Find a quiet space. Noise canceling headphones can be a lifesaver. Third, active learning techniques help a ton. Just passively reading is a recipe for daydreaming. Try summarizing as you go, asking yourself questions or teaching the material to someone else. That forces your brain to stay engaged. Fourth, mindfulness and exercises can help calm your mind and improve focus. There are tons of apps for guided meditation. Finally, make sure you're getting enough sleep, eating healthy, and staying hydrated. Your brain needs fuel to function properly. As for recording more effectively, that means taking good notes, right? Don't just transcribe everything verbatim. Focus on key concepts, use abbreviations, create outlines, and use visual cues like colors and diagrams. And review your notes shortly after taking them. That helps solidify the information in your memory. Does that feel helpful?
Okay, Maya. So my next question is cramming in the night before an exam usually leads to poor results. What study habits work better for memory and understanding? In your answer, describe at least three habits, explain how they work, and give real examples of applying them in exam preparation.
Ah, right. Exam anxiety is a killer. Totally get that. Cramming is a prime example of what doesn't work. It's all short term memorization, no real understanding. To build actual memory and understanding, you want habits that build connections and reinforce learning. Three that stand out: interleaving, retrieval practice, and elaboration. Interleaving is about mixing up your study topics instead of blocking them. Instead of studying all of chapter 1, then all of chapter 2, switch back and forth between different subjects or different parts of a subject. This forces your brain to discriminate between concepts and strengthens long-term retention. Think of it like this: if you only practice free throws, you'll get good at free throws, but you won't be prepared for game situations. Interleaving is the game situation. For exam prep, Don't just do practice problems all on one topic. Mix it up. Retrieval practice. We touched on this earlier, but it's key. This is actively trying to recall information from memory rather than passively rereading it. Flashcards, practice quizzes, self-testing, anything that forces you to pull the info out of your brain. It's tough, but it works. Elaboration, again, building on what we said before, is about connecting new information to what you already know. Explaining concepts in your own words, creating analogies, or thinking about real-world examples. The more connections you make, the easier it is to remember. If you're studying the French Revolution, don't just memorize dates and names. Think about how it relates to other revolutions in history or to current events. Basically, stop just rereading and start actively doing. Those three habits, interleaving, retrieval, and elaboration, are way more effective than just cram. Still with me? All right.
So my
Okay,
next
and your name is
question is, students often forget names, dates, or formulas quickly. What special techniques can make it easier to remember facts and numbers? In your answer, explain at least three strategies. Show why they are useful and give examples of how to apply them.
all right. Facts and numbers, the bane of many students' existence. Three techniques to tackle that: mnemonic devices, the method of loci, and chunking. Mnemonic devices are memory aids that help you associate information with something easier to remember. Acronyms, rhymes, or even silly images. For example, to remember the Great Lakes, Superior, Michigan, Huron, Erie, Ontario, you could use the acronym SMHEO or create a silly sentence like some monkeys hate eating old oranges. It's useful because it leverages your brain's natural ability to remember stories and images. The method of loci, also known as the memory palace, involves associating items you want to remember with specific locations along a familiar route. Imagine walking through your house, placing each fact or number at a different location. Then, when you need to recall the information, mentally walk through your house and pick up the items. It works because it taps into your spatial memory, which is incredibly strong. Chunking is about breaking down large amounts of information into smaller, more manageable chunks. Phone numbers are a great example. Instead of trying to remember 10 digits, we remember 3 chunks of numbers. It's useful because it reduces the cognitive load on your short-term memory. For example, instead of trying to memorize a long chemical formula, break it down into smaller parts and understand what each part represents. Those 3 strategies, mnemonics, loci, and chunking, can really help you stick those facts and numbers. Any of those sound doable to you? Still there, Miriam? Just checking in.
Okay, so my next question about that. Not all subjects require the same memory techniques. How can a student adjust their study methods for math, science, and history? In your answer, discuss at least three approaches, explain why each one works, and give real life examples.
Okay, good question. You're right, one size doesn't fit all when it comes to study methods. Math, science, and history all demand different approaches. For math, the key is practice, practice, practice. It's not about memorizing formulas, it's about understanding the underlying concepts and being able to apply them to solve problems. Work through lots of example problems and don't just look at the solutions. Try to solve them yourself first. It works because math is a skill, like playing an instrument. You get better with repetition. For science, it's about understanding the relationships between concepts. Focus on building a conceptual framework and use diagrams, charts, and mind maps to visualize those relationships. Also, do experiments or simulations whenever possible. It works because science is about observation and experimentation. For history, it's about understanding the narrative and the context. Don't just memorize dates and names. Focus on the big picture, the causes and effects, and the connections between events. Create timelines, write summaries, or even try to explain historical events to someone else. It works because history is a story, and stories are easier to remember when you understand the characters, the plot, and the theme. So, math practice, science conceptual framework, history narrative. Does that feel right? Just making sure you're still following along, Miriam.
So my next question about that. Many students confuse understanding an idea with remembering it later. What can students do to make sure they both understand and recall information? In their answer, describe at least three strategies, explain their importance, and provide examples.
Ah, right. The understanding versus remembering trap. Super common. You can feel like you get something in the moment, then blank on it during an exam. Okay, 3 strategies to bridge that gap: elaborate interrogation, teach back method, and interleaved practice with explanation. Elaborative interrogation, we touched on this before, but it's critical here. Don't just read or listen to a concept. Constantly ask yourself why questions. Why does this work? What are the underlying principles? How does this relate to other things I know? Like, this forces deeper processing and strengthens both understanding and memory. The teach back method is about explaining the concept to someone else, or even just pretending to. If you can explain it clearly, you truly understand it. This highlights gaps in your knowledge and forces you to fill them. Imagine you're explaining the theory of relativity to a friend who knows nothing about physics. You'd have to break it down into simple terms and make it understandable. Finally, interleaved practice with explanation. Don't just do practice problems. After you solve each problem, explain the steps you took and why you chose those steps. That links the procedure with the underlying understanding. Say you're solving a calculus problem. Don't just get the right answer. Explain the rules of integration you used and why they apply in that situation. Those 3: elaborate interrogation, teach back, and interleave practice with explanation work together to ensure you're not just memorizing, but genuinely understanding and remembering. Does that sound like it would be useful? Still with me, Miriam? All right, good. So, what's on your mind now?
My last question is give me a long advice of 2 minutes.
Okay, a long piece of advice. All right, here we go. Studying isn't just about getting good grades. It's about building a skill set, critical thinking, problem solving, discipline that will serve you well for the rest of your life. Don't treat it as a chore. Treat it as an investment in yourself. First, embrace the struggle. Learning is hard. You're going to encounter concepts that challenge you, topics that frustrate you. That's okay. That's where the growth happens. Don't be afraid to ask for help from teachers, classmates, or tutors. Second, find what works for you. There's no one-size-fits-all approach to studying. Experiment with different techniques: active recall, spaced repetition, mind maps, whatever, and find the ones that resonate with your learning style. Third, prioritize self-care. Get enough sleep, eat healthy, exercise regularly, and make time for things you enjoy. Burnout is real, and it will sabotage your efforts. Your brain needs fuel to function optimally. Fourth, don't compare yourself to others. Everyone learns at their own pace. Focus on your own progress and celebrate your own achievements. Fifth, and this is a big one, cultivate a growth mindset. Believe that your intelligence and abilities can be developed through effort and dedication. Don't get discouraged by setbacks. View them as opportunities to learn and improve. And finally, remember that learning is a lifelong journey. It doesn't end when you graduate from school. Stay curious, keep exploring, and never stop seeking knowledge. It's about building